They erased this from history, not by accident, by design. For thousands of years, Chinese healers, warriors, and monks developed skills so powerful that entire governments tried to suppress them. Most people today have never heard of a single one. Subscribe, drop a comment telling me what state or country you're watching from, and share this with one person who needs it. Now let's get into it. Skill 1. Daoyin breathing. Most people breathe wrong their entire lives. Daoyin is the ancient Chinese art of intentional breath movement, developed over 2,000 years ago by Taoist monks who believed that controlling breath was controlling life force itself. This wasn't meditation, this was medicine. Practitioners would combine slow, deliberate breathing patterns with gentle body movements to move what they called qi through the body's meridian channels. It was used to treat everything from digestive disorders to anxiety to early-stage illness. Studies suggest that diaphragmatic breathing techniques rooted in traditions like Daoyin can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, directly reducing cortisol and lowering heart rate. In simple terms, it tells your body it's safe to heal. In a crisis, panic kills faster than the threat itself. Knowing how to breathe your way out of a stress response isn't spiritual. It's survival. It was forgotten because it couldn't be patented. You can't sell breath. Skill 2. Moxibustion on the Zusanli point. There is a single point on your leg, 4 finger widths below your kneecap, just outside your shin bone. The Chinese called it Zusanli, and for over 3,000 years, they burned dried mugwort above that point to prevent disease, boost immunity, and extend life. Moxibustion, the practice of burning compressed herb sticks near the skin's surface without touching it, was so revered that ancient texts recorded emperors using it before battle to fortify their generals, not swords, herbs, and heat. Research indicates that stimulation of the Zusanli point through moxibustion may improve white blood cell activity and support immune regulation. Modern acupuncture clinics in Japan and China still use it today. You apply gentle warmth from a moxa stick in slow circles above the point for several minutes. The heat penetrates. The body responds. It was forgotten in the West because it looked too simple to be real. That was its disguise. Skill 3. Gua Sha. Ancient Chinese physicians had a tool that looked like a simple smooth stone or bone fragment. With it, they could relieve what they called sha, stagnant toxic energy trapped beneath the skin. They would scrape the skin firmly in long strokes until red marks appeared, and the patient would feel better within hours. This is gua sha, and before you dismiss it, research indicates that the scraping motion increases microcirculation, stimulates immune response, and may reduce inflammation markers in underlying tissue. The redness is not damage. It is your blood moving to the surface, bringing healing agents to areas that were starved of circulation. Modern sports medicine uses nearly identical techniques under names like instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization. For fever, chronic neck pain, or tight muscles after physical labor, this technique costs nothing and requires only a smooth edge and some oil. It was suppressed in China during certain political eras as superstition. It survived in kitchens, in grandmothers' hands. Skill 4. Cold water tempering. Shaolin monks didn't just train their muscles, they trained their nervous systems. One of their oldest disciplines involved daily immersion in cold mountain water, beginning from childhood, not as punishment, but as practice. They understood something that Western science is only now studying. Cold exposure activates brown adipose tissue, triggers norepinephrine release, and builds what researchers now call cold thermogenesis, a metabolic state that strengthens immune response and mental resilience simultaneously. Studies suggest regular cold exposure may reduce inflammatory markers and improve mood regulation through norepinephrine pathways in the brain. You don't need a mountain stream. Ending your shower with 30 to 60 seconds of cold water 3 times a week begins to rewire your autonomic nervous system. The monks knew this 1,500 years before the science caught up. It was forgotten because comfort became a product. Someone needed to sell you warmth. Skill 5. Rice paper wound dressing. During ancient Chinese warfare, battlefield medics had no sterile gauze, no antibiotics. What they had was rice paper, sometimes layered with herbal compounds, pressed directly onto wounds to control bleeding and prevent infection. This wasn't improvisation, it was technology. Rice paper is semi-permeable, gentle on tissue, and when combined with traditional herbs like Yunnan Baiyao, created a wound environment hostile to bacteria. Research indicates that certain plant compounds used in traditional Chinese wound treatments exhibit genuine antimicrobial properties comparable to low-grade antibiotics. In a survival scenario, knowing how to create breathable, herb-infused wound dressings from natural materials is the difference between healing and infection. This skill lived in military manuals for centuries and was quietly abandoned when synthetic bandages became cheap. Skill 6. Tongue diagnosis. Before blood tests, before x-rays, before MRI machines, Chinese physicians could look at your tongue for 60 seconds and tell you what was wrong inside your body. The tongue, in traditional Chinese medicine, is considered a map. Its color, coating, texture, shape, and moisture each correspond to different organ systems. A pale tongue suggests blood deficiency. A purple tinge suggests stagnation. A thick yellow coating suggests heat in the digestive system. Modern gastroenterologists and naturopathic doctors are now studying tongue diagnosis as a low-cost early screening tool. Studies suggest correlations between tongue coating characteristics and gut microbiome imbalances. You can learn the basics in a week. You can begin reading your own body every morning in the mirror, and you'll catch things your doctor might miss for years. It was forgotten in the West because a hospital cannot bill you for looking in a mirror. Skill 7. Tuina bodywork. Most people think massage is luxury. Ancient Chinese soldiers thought it was maintenance. Tuina, which translates literally to push and grasp, is a 2,000-year-old system of physical manipulation that targets specific meridian pathways and joint structures to restore function and relieve pain. Unlike regular massage, Tuina uses precise thumb pressure, rhythmic kneading, and joint rotations targeting points the body uses to signal distress. It was taught to military medics and used after battle to restore injured fighters to combat readiness. Research indicates that Tuina may reduce musculoskeletal pain and improve range of motion in clinical settings, with some studies comparing it favorably to physiotherapy for certain conditions. You can learn the basic strokes in an afternoon. Applied correctly to the neck, lower back, or shoulders, this is non-invasive medicine you carry in your hands. Skill 8. Activated charcoal detox. Long before emergency rooms used activated charcoal to treat poisoning, Chinese physicians were using charred bamboo and wood preparations to draw toxins from the body. They administered it after suspected food poisoning, insect bites, and contaminated water exposure. The science behind this is undeniable. Activated charcoal binds to toxins in the digestive tract before they enter the bloodstream. It is still used in hospital emergency departments today for certain poisoning cases. Studies suggest activated charcoal can reduce absorption of specific toxins by up to 60% when administered promptly after ingestion. In a food or water crisis, knowing how to create a crude form of this and how to use it responsibly could be the line between recovery and collapse. The knowledge is ancient, the chemistry is modern, they agree. Skill 9. Gu Sui Bu Bone Healing Herb. There is a fern. It grows on rocks and old tree bark across southern China. Its name in Chinese literally means repair broken bones. For over 2,500 years, herbalists used it in fracture recovery formulas. The active compounds in Gu Sui Bu, known scientifically as Drinaria rhizome, include naringine and icariin, both of which have been studied for their effect on bone density and calcium absorption. Research indicates that naringine may stimulate osteoblast activity, the cells responsible for building bone tissue, suggesting a genuine biological mechanism behind this ancient use. In a world where access to orthopedic care might someday disappear, knowing which plants support bone recovery isn't mysticism, it's herbology backed by biochemistry. This knowledge was replaced by calcium supplements and X-ray copays. Skill 10. Tai Chi as combat medicine. Here's what nobody tells you about Tai Chi. It was never designed for elderly people in parks. It was designed for soldiers, specifically to keep aging warriors functional, balanced, and combat-ready. The slow circular movements train something called proprioception, your body's internal GPS for balance and spatial awareness. As this system degrades with age, fall risk skyrockets. Falls are among the leading causes of death in people over 65. Studies suggest regular Tai Chi practice reduces fall risk by up to 45% in older adults. It also shows measurable improvements in blood pressure, anxiety, and joint function. This skill was forgotten as medicine when it was rebranded as exercise. What was once military maintenance became a park hobby. The technique is the same. The intention was lost. Skill 11. Kanji Fasting Protocol. When a Chinese elder got sick, they didn't eat nothing. They ate kanji, a thin, slow-cooked rice porridge, sometimes infused with ginger, dates, or medicinal herbs, designed to give the digestive system near-complete rest while maintaining caloric and mineral intake. This is not just comfort food. This is a deliberate therapeutic fast. The porridge requires almost no energy to digest, reducing systemic inflammation and redirecting the body's resources toward healing. Research indicates that modified dietary rest periods, similar in principle to kanji-based protocols, may reduce markers of systemic inflammation and support gut lining recovery. During illness, food is not always medicine. Sometimes the absence of the wrong food is. This knowledge once lived in every Chinese household. Now it lives in a few cookbooks nobody reads. Skill 12. 5-element emotional mapping. Fear damages the kidneys. Anger damages the liver. Grief damages the lungs. These are not metaphors. In Chinese medicine, they are clinical observations recorded over 2 millennia. The 5-element system maps emotional states to organ systems in a surprisingly predictive way. Chronic suppressed anger in patients who later develop liver disease. Prolonged grief in patients who develop respiratory issues. The connections are not random. Studies suggest psychosomatic connections between chronic emotional stress and specific organ pathologies, supporting at least the framework that chronic emotional dysregulation can manifest as physical illness in patterned ways. Knowing your emotional patterns can be a form of early diagnosis. The system doesn't require belief, it requires attention, and that was considered too threatening to sell. Skill 13. Stone needle acupressure. Before metal needles, before silver and gold instruments, the first acupuncture was done with stones. Beyond stones, sharp natural fragments selected for their thermal properties were used to press, scrape, and tap specific body points to release blockages and move energy. This predates written Chinese history. Archaeologists have found Bian stone tools in sites over 4,000 years old alongside records describing their medical use. What makes this relevant today is that you don't need needles. You don't need a clinic. Studies suggest that sustained pressure on acupuncture points can produce measurable physiological responses, including endorphin release and localized blood flow changes. A smooth river stone, properly applied to the right point, is a functional medical tool. This is the oldest medicine on Earth. It requires nothing but knowledge. Skill 14. Night Sky Navigation by Chinese Star Maps. Chinese astronomers created star navigation systems over 2,500 years ago that were used not just for agriculture and calendars, but for military positioning and wilderness survival. They divided the sky into 28 lunar mansions, each corresponding to a direction, a season, and a survival strategy. Sailors used these maps across the Pacific centuries before European contact. Soldiers used them to move undetected at night through unknown terrain. In any situation where technology fails, GPS goes dark, or power disappears, knowing how to navigate by the stars is a skill that has no modern substitute. The Chinese didn't just observe the sky, they weaponized it. It was forgotten when satellites made it feel unnecessary, until the satellites stopped working. Skill 15. Fermented black garlic medicine. Regular garlic is already one of nature's most documented antimicrobial agents. Black garlic, produced through weeks of low-heat fermentation in the Chinese tradition, takes this to a different level entirely. The fermentation process converts allicin into compounds called S-allylcysteine and other bioavailable organosulfur molecules. These compounds show significantly higher antioxidant activity than raw garlic and demonstrate more bioavailability in human tissue. Research indicates that black garlic extract may support cardiovascular health, exhibit anti-inflammatory properties, and show potential against certain pathogenic microorganisms in laboratory settings. For centuries, Chinese physicians prescribed fermented black garlic during epidemics and after surgery. It was food, it was medicine, it was insurance. It was forgotten when pharmaceutical companies had better margins on synthetic compounds. Skill 16. Wuqingxi Animal Qi Gong. Most people know Baguazhang as a martial art. Almost no one knows its deeper application. 2,000 years ago, a physician named Hua Tuo created an exercise system based on 5 animals: the tiger, bear, deer, monkey, and crane. Each movement mimicked the animal's nature, not randomly, but to activate specific organ systems and release specific types of tension held in the body. The bear movements stimulate spleen and stomach function. The crane movements open the lungs. The tiger movements build kidney energy and primal strength. This isn't poetry. This is functional biomechanics layered with meridian theory. Studies suggest that Wu Qingxi practice shows measurable improvements in balance, lung capacity, and immune markers in elderly populations. It is still practiced in some rural Chinese communities today. This is a complete healthcare system disguised as a dance with animals, and almost nobody outside China knows it exists. Skill 17. Yunnan Baiyao Emergency Hemostasis. Now we are entering the territory that kept this formula classified. Yunnan Baiyao is a traditional Chinese herbal powder formula with origins in the Yunnan province. For most of its existence, its exact formula was a state secret. During the Vietnam War, Viet Cong soldiers were reportedly found carrying it on their bodies. It was used to stop severe bleeding. American military medical researchers noticed and began studying it. Research indicates that Yunnan Baiyao demonstrates genuine hemostatic properties, meaning it may accelerate clotting and reduce blood loss in wound scenarios. Veterinary surgeons in the United States now use it routinely. This formula, made from plants that grow in the mountains of southern China, was used on battlefields when nothing else was available. In a world without hospitals, knowing this exists and how to apply it is not optional. It is essential. Skill 18. Sleeping position therapy. This one will feel too simple. That's exactly why it worked. Ancient Chinese physicians prescribed specific sleeping positions for specific illnesses. Sleeping on the left for heart conditions, on the right for liver disease, flat on the back for kidney restoration, in a fetal curl for digestive healing. They observed thousands of patients over hundreds of years and recorded correlations between posture, organ pressure, and recovery speed. This was empirical medicine before the word empirical existed. Modern sleep science has confirmed that sleep position significantly affects lymphatic drainage, cardiac load, acid reflux, and even glymphatic brain cleaning, the process by which the brain flushes toxins during sleep. Studies suggest left-side sleeping may reduce cardiac workload and improve lymphatic flow compared to other positions. The Chinese figured this out with observation alone, and you can apply it tonight for free. Skill 19. Baguazhang Circle Walking Meditation. The core practice of Baguazhang is simply walking in a circle, slowly, with specific foot placement, spine alignment, and internal focus, for hours. Taoist monks used this practice to enter meditative states while remaining physically active, building what they called whole-body integration, a state where the nervous system, muscular system, and mental focus operate as one. Research indicates that rhythmic, repetitive movement like structured walking activates default mode network suppression and promotes neurological coherence states similar to deep meditation, but without the stillness requirement. For people who cannot sit and meditate, this is the door. For anyone facing trauma, cognitive fatigue, or chronic stress, this moving meditation is accessible without training, without equipment, and without belief. It was forgotten because you cannot monetize walking in circles, but the monks who practiced it lived long, clear, functional lives. Skill 20. The Yellow Emperor's Fasting Breath. And now we arrive at the one they really didn't want you to know about. Over 2,500 years ago, the Huangdi Neijing, the foundational text of Chinese medicine, described a practice called bigu, translated roughly as avoiding grain. But it wasn't starvation. It was a precise, guided protocol of reduced eating, specific breath work, herb consumption, and meditative stillness that allowed the human body to enter a self-regenerative state. Practitioners reported going days with dramatically reduced food intake while maintaining or increasing energy, mental clarity, and physical vitality. Masters of this practice were revered as having unlocked something fundamental about human biology. And now, 2,500 years later, modern science is describing something almost identical. It is called autophagy. The Nobel Prize in Physiology was awarded in 2016 for research into this very mechanism. Studies suggest that extended caloric restriction, paired with certain breathing and stress reduction techniques, may activate autophagy, a cellular self-cleaning process where the body breaks down damaged cells and proteins, potentially slowing aging and restoring organ function. The ancient Chinese described this process in biological terms they didn't have words for yet. They called it returning to emptiness. Scientists now call it cellular recycling. The practice is the same. The name changed. The power didn't. This was suppressed because a body that heals itself needs fewer drugs and fewer appointments. It costs nothing. It requires only discipline and knowledge. The Yellow Emperor wrote about this for the people, and now, so do I. These 20 skills survived invasions, revolutions, cultural erasures, and centuries of suppression. They survived because they worked, because real things don't disappear. They just get buried until someone is willing to dig. If this video opened something in you, subscribe right now because what's coming next goes even deeper. And drop a comment below telling me what state or country you're watching from. I want to see this map light up around the world.